Drew Mestemaker is a polished quarterback with accuracy, ball placement, and arm talent. And with a strong 2026 college football season, he can rise the ranks for the 27 NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Damian Parson. That's Keith Sanchez. On today's episode, we're scouting Drew Mestemaker, the North Texas quarterback, now transferred to Oklahoma State. Is he the next Fernando Mendoza of the transfer portal? We're going to break that down, talk about it, explain the grade, go over his cons, and we're going to start the show off, as always, with the pros, the things that stood out to us on film. Keith, I think he's listed at 6'3", about 210, 211 pounds. Last year for North Texas, Drew Mestemaker completed 68.9% of his passes, threw for 4,841 yards and 41 total touchdowns. Keith, what stood out to you on film when you looked at Drew Mestemaker at North Texas last year?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with something else, DP, just to explain to the listeners, because I thought this was interesting, right? Drew Mestemaker, over the past, I believe, 2 football seasons, right? He's been kind of one of the most coveted, especially small school quarterbacks, right? Like guys that you would expect to take the next step. I believe he's been at North Texas doing pretty good for 2 years. 2025 made the second year, I believe. And so while I was watching him, DP, I'm like, okay, why Oklahoma State, right? And then I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? Because I know how this goes. I pulled up the coaching history, right? Like I went to the coaches, their coach just to explain to people, right? The coach that's at Oklahoma State now was the coach at North Texas. That's all of their staff. That's all of their staff there. Quarterback coach, plenty of other guys, right? And so that's why he made the transition to Oklahoma State, because I wanted to say that because I know that people be like, oh, well, he was good enough, he would have went somewhere else, right? Like why he didn't go to Ohio State, why he didn't go to, this type of school. But I think he chose the being comfortable, right? Like it's a familiar environment. Wanted to get that out the way. That's as far as the story with Drew Mestemaker and the transfer. Now, talking about Drew Mestemaker, the player, and what I think he provides, man, I honestly, I think it's a wide array of things. One, I think he's a natural thrower. All comes out of his hand, fluid, smooth. He has a natural release. He has a quick release. It's almost, I don't want to call it a prototype situation, but it's almost how you draw it up, right? Like if you want your quarterback to stand in the pocket, deliver the football. I thought there were times where he did a pretty good job of processing, going from progression to progression, 1, 2, 3, get the football out. I thought he did a good job with maneuvering in the pocket. Pocket presence was pretty good. And for the most part, DP, I thought that he did a solid job with accuracy. And to me, that showed through the completion percentage. I think he was right at 69% or 68 point, something like that.
68.9.
68.9. So I thought this is a natural thrower of the football that you can build and mold into many different situations.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was big for me, Keith, is a lot of what you talked about. I felt like he was an accurate guy. He had flashes of accuracy and everything. Like I said, natural throwing motion and natural throwing of the football, good ball placement and whatnot, Keith. And I just really appreciated those things from his game. He has the height and the size where he can see the field and go through his progressions and things like that. But he also is a functional athlete to where if you flush him out of the pocket, he keeps his eyes down the field. He's going to throw down the field, things like that. I didn't see him run. Like it's not that he's not a guy that wants to run the rock 10, 15 times a game. But if you give him the opportunity, he's going to make the best out of it. Like he's going to use his legs and do what he has to do. And I really appreciate that, looking at that overall when it pertained to him, Keith. And like that accuracy, I think to me, he's a 3 from a 3-level standpoint. He showcased the accuracy at all 3 levels, right? There's whole shots, one-on-one shots down the field. He's got some throws where I think layering and touch might be his best throwing aspect, in my opinion. He layers the ball so well down the field. He puts it over the head of underneath defenders, but he also does a great job of fitting the ball. I think his arm talent's good too. being able to put velocity when he needs to. There's some throws on like slant routes, and he fits it between the two spot droppers, the two zone defenders. And it's not like you got a middle linebacker, weak side linebacker, and they're 15 yards apart laterally. Like these guys are very close in proximity, and he fires it right in there and is able to fit that pass in there. I feel like he navigates the pocket well. Also, Keith, like this is a guy that moves in the pocket well. Like he's not climbing the pocket to exit. He's climbing the pocket to find a window. Okay, rusher gets there, cool. I'm gonna slide, I'm gonna shuffle, and I'm gonna go ahead and get the ball out. So I feel like his game, he's got a pro style game, and I think that's why. And to you brought up like the 2 years. So he played like I think a game. He played a couple games his first year at North Texas. I think he might have redshirted him. And then he took over last year as a full-time starter. I'm excited for this young man going to Oklahoma State because one thing we know about Oklahoma State, the Big 12 rather, they like to throw the football anyway, right? This guy had got some games. I think he threw it like 50 times, 60 times last year, things like that. So I hope at Oklahoma State they run the ball a little bit more than they did at North Texas to take some of that pressure off of them. But yeah, I think, and it's very similar, like Mendoza was 6'5", 225, different body types, right? He's taller in a bigger frame overall. But watching him, that's why I invoked Mendoza's name. I think he could be the Mendoza of this transfer portal and this transfer cycle where you get Cal isn't a small school, but you get the guy that the difference is Mendoza was relatively unknown. People
in the football world, Cal is a small school. Yeah, that's not a bad
like. People know who Drew Mestemaker is. You know what I mean? Everybody been waiting for the portal for him to jump in and see where he went. Where at Cal, people didn't watch Cal, people didn't pay attention to Cal like that, when Mendoza was there. So when Mendoza transfers, and he went to a school similar to Mestemaker, to a school that hasn't been winning football games like that. You know what I mean? At Oklahoma State. So now you get to go and kind of do the same exact thing in the Big 12 where you kind of raise the floor of that program. I think this kid could be in for a big year, and now bigger lights, brighter lights, bigger stage in the Big 12. You got competition there, things like that. This could be a big season. I mean, granted, he just threw for over 4,000 yards in North Texas. But if you do for almost 5,000 yards in the Big 12 and 40-plus total touchdowns, your name might be in the Heisman contention if you win the Big 12. You got a CFP berth. There's a lot to like about Drew Mestemaker, Keith.
Yeah, and that's why I explained the roadmap, right, for Drew Mestemaker and tie it in the coaching part, because I don't want people to overlook and be like I said, if he was good enough, why he didn't go to the big blue blood programs in college football, right? Like it's just, I think that there was the familiarity.
He don't have to learn, guys. He does not have to learn a new offense. He knows the coach.
That's what I'm saying.
All that familiarity, that's big. Keith, how many times we see these players jump in the portal? Say, you know what? I don't know anything about these coaches, but I'm out. You know what I mean? I'm going to now. You got the first couple games, you not playing your game because you're still learning the offense, still learning your teammates. Depending on this was before they changed the transfer portal rules where guys would jump in the portal. I think Trinidad did that. He jumped in the portal last summer, if I'm not mistaken, and enrolled right there, like right before the season or whatever the case may have been, or fall camp, whatever it was for Ole Miss. So. Yeah, being able to be familiar with the coaching staff, with the expectations, the communication, the offense in general, and I think some of their players besides him came with them as well. I think they brought more players than just Drew. I think they might have brought a receiver or two and stuff like that.
Sounds like a Indiana-ish type situation.
Right? Exactly, right? It's Kursignetti said, I know some of these guys. Let me bring them with me to Indiana.
Yeah, like not only is he familiar with them, they're familiar with him, meaning that they know his pros and cons, right? And how many times have we seen, especially in this transfer portal era, DP, where it seems as though it takes a few games for them to figure it out, if they ever figure it out, right? So, I think it's interesting, and I think what we're both trying to say is this could be a potentially explosive situation, right? At the end of the day, as far as with Mestemaker going to Oklahoma State is not something to look over. pay attention to it. It's the exact opposite.
Absolutely.
Don't glance over
Absolutely.
it. Pay attention to it because they could make noise in the Big 12. DP, let's do this, man. Listen, we talked about the pros of Drew Mestemaker, right? We talked about the accuracy, the pocket pressings, different things like that. His ability to throw for almost 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. Very decorated resume at this point. But let's talk about the concerns, right? What should we be concerned about with Drew Mestemaker? We talked highly of him, but why is he not QB1 in this class? Let's discuss that coming up next.
Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? Well, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Before we break down the concerns for Oklahoma State transfer quarterback Drew Mestemaker, get your daily dose of the Locked On NFL Draft podcast completely ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club. Today, start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to me and Keith, your favorite NFL draft analyst, without the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes. Go to LockedOnNFLDraft.supercast.com to claim your free trial right now. Keith, the concerns for Drew Mestemaker coming off of a really successful season at North Texas, now transferring in to play for Oklahoma State, as we just alluded to, Keith. The things that stood out to me: turnover in bunches.
DP, that like we must have been doing this podcast and it's starting to rub off on each other because you said turnover in bunches. I thought you were going to pass this to me, and I was going to say interception in bunches. That was going to be my first quote. So I just wanted to get that out there, man.
Listen, man, we've been doing this for a long time, brother. We've been doing this for a long time. Guys, as Keith and I both alluded to, it's turnovers, interceptions in bunches. You go to the USF game, week 7, 3 interceptions. You go to the last 2 games on the season. The championship game at Tulane, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. In the bowl game against San Diego State, 2 interceptions. So he threw, I believe, 9 on the season, and pretty much a bulk of that came in 3 games. You got to protect the football. You got to make better decisions under pressure. And I think that 1 year of experience, that 1 year of true experience, the full-time starter, showcases that, where you see some of the immaturity and pressure kind of getting him off his spot and rattling him a little bit and things of that nature. But he's got to cut down on those turnovers, Keith, because in those big, especially in the Big 12, you're going up against offense. Almost every team in the Big 12 has a semblance of offense. They're not a conference that plays a great brand of defense typically, but almost every team can score at least 30. Like they're good at being able to put up points. So you can't go into matchups against Arizona, against a TCU, against Colorado or whoever and think, okay, I can throw 3 interceptions and it's going to keep us in the game. Like you throw 3 interceptions and that team scores 35, 40 points, you more than likely lose that game. So I want to see him cut down on those interceptions. And again, yes, you're going to throw a pick here or there, and I'm fine. But my problem is that it snowballs. 1 interception turns to 2, turns to 3. We don't want that to continue in the Big 12 where the competition increases and grows, and then 3 turns to 4. We don't want that. We want to see you be able to cut down some of those. Hey, if you had to throw an interception, put it in the back of your mind. Forget about it, but go back out there cognizant of, hey, I got to protect the football and I got to do a better job getting the ball out and getting it to my guys. And like I always say, man, just, hey, if you got to throw it away, if you got to eat that sack, whatever you got to do, every drive needs to end in the kick. A punt, a field goal, or extra point. We don't need them ending in interceptions.
Yep. No, I agree, DP. And to that point, right, when I seen it and was looking at the statistics of it, And like you said, most of his interceptions came in 3 games, right? Of the 9 interceptions, I think 8 came in those 3 games.
Yeah. Legit.
And those 3 games also, I couldn't help but tie this together, is that was the better competition, DP. Tulane was a playoff team, right? San Diego State is a pretty solid program.
Yeah.
And then the other school, USF
Well
was
coached,
ranked,
yeah.
I believe, when they played them. I think USF was in the top 25, right? And
Did
so
they beat Florida this year? Like they might. I mean, this past year, I think they beat Florida. They
within the
gave
past couple years,
Miami.
it was
they
something
battled
like
with
that,
Miami
yeah.
a little bit. Yeah. So
Yeah. So a ranked team. So those 3 teams were all good teams, right? You're talking about a team that was ranked in the top 25, Tulane that went to the playoffs, and San Diego State, which is a fairly good program, just football program, right? They're fairly
well coached.
Yeah, well coached. And so I looked at that and I'm like, okay, what is the situation? Is the speed of the game? And I looked at one of his interceptions against USF, and it was a linebacker that dropped in the coverage, and it was 2 in-breaking routes. It was like the number 3 wide receiver ran a slant, and then like the number 2 kind of ran a in breaker, right? Might have been a 10 and in, and I don't know if he was trying to manipulate the linebacker. I have no idea, or he just underestimated the athletic ability of the linebacker, because it should have been obvious, right? Just as far as, hey, this linebacker sitting right there, right? And I don't know if he anticipated what the linebacker was going to do, but it wasn't a great intercept. Like, it wasn't like, hey, man, I could see what you saw. It was like, I don't get it. Like, why did you throw that football? yeah. Like, I don't know why you threw that football, man. And so with that being said, I wonder if there's going to be a learning curve for a step up in competition, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I thought about when looking at Drew Mestemaker and these interceptions with these kind of big time programs for North Texas, right? Like these big time games. Is there going to be that situation? So definitely something I think that you have to, when we talk about this segment being concerns, that's a concern, right? Is that, hey, you're taking a step up in level of play. And then now with Oklahoma State maybe potentially not being the dominant program as far as talent, every school is potentially going to be on your level, right? Like it's going to be equal or more competition except for a few schools. So then how do you play that forward? I think he's going to have a DP. He has a really big test coming up week 2. They play Oregon. So it's going to be a baptism.
Where's that game at anyway? Is that at home?
I think it's home. Yeah, I think Oregon comes to Oklahoma State. I want to say.
I mean, that makes it a little bit better, but not as much, because you still got to deal with
you still got to deal with the guys on the field, right? Like
you still got to deal with Oregon.
The take Ukulele is still over there.
Yes, that's definitely. He's still there. Like,
yeah, so I think this is the year we'll learn a lot about Drew Mestemaker, but I think the interceptions and why he threw the interceptions is definitely a concern for him, because you don't know if it's going to become in a snowball effect, right? Like I could take one, right? But when we get to, if you throw one in the top of the second quarter, the beginning of the second quarter, then I have to expect you're gonna throw 3 throughout the game. Like, that's tough as a head coach, right? Like I could take one and be like, okay, but I can't say one. All right, here we go. It's gonna be 3 of them. Right. You don't want to have to do that. You don't have to.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, they got Oregon at home week 2, which is, I mean, your second game is Oregon. That's tough, right? You got UCF, who is always a tough opponent in the Big 12. Very talented team, physical, well coached, and they have like legitimate athletes at UCF. You know what I mean? They go on the road to Houston the week after that. They face Colorado at home. I think that's their homecoming. They go to Iowa State, go to Kansas State, and then they get Texas Tech November 14th. And you know that Texas Tech, they spend money in Texas. Yeah. Like they spend money to get that roster where they needed to be. So definitely a lot riding on him in this season, Keith. And I think for him, just so like I said, that going back to the comp to Mendoza, like you're going up a step in competition. Now, is it like you're going from North Texas to Oklahoma, going to the Big 12, where you're going to play you're going to play good teams in that conference every single week for the most part. Teams that are either equal level, some teams will be higher level of talent than you, compared to playing North Texas, where you're going to have a few sprinkled throughout the season. It's a gauntlet every week in the Big 12, going up a step in competition. That was the thing with Mendoza. You're going from Cal to the Big 12. You're going to Indiana. Like, you know what I mean? You're going to have to face Ohio State sooner or later, things like that. So, I want to, close out this talking about this, Keith. Like, this dude threw the ball a lot. The last game of the season, he had 48 attempts. Charlotte, 49 attempts. USF, 46 attempts. Like, he throws the ball a decent amount at North Texas. I want to see them run the football, protect them a little bit, especially early in the season. You go into that Oregon game throwing the ball 50 times in that game, that lets me know that this game is a blowout if you're throwing it 50 times against Oregon, that they are up 21 early and you got to abandon the run game. Run the ball, play some complimentary, try to be balanced and keep the defenses honest. That's going to be a big thing to really help him settle in to where he's not. You want to keep him even keel. He's not too high, he's not too low. But that's the thing of, when you get transfer quarterbacks coming in, there's some pressure involved. I'm taking a step up. I got to prove that I'm worth the money. I've got to prove I'm worth the hype. Let's settle him in and run the football. Let's not have him throwing the ball 40 times, even 35 times a game if we can help it.
Yep, I agree. DP, let's do this, man. My favorite part of the show. Drop those draft grades, right? What grade do we give Drew Mestemaker in the summer heading into the 2026 college football season? We'll discuss that. Me, DP, we're dropping our draft grades coming up next.
Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you explaining the grades for an Oklahoma State quarterback, new transfer quarterback, Drew Mestemaker. Keith, what grade did you give Drew Mestemaker coming off summer scout?
Yeah, balancing everything, right? I thought the pro segment that we did was really good, talking about the highlights, and I thought the concerns, right, were real concerns. And so that was really my process, right? I was looking, okay, trying not to get too high and too low and balance out what I seen. I went second round grade. I gave him a second round grade because the pros of throwing the ball, and being accounting for 40 plus touchdowns, right? Like, that's huge, right? Almost 5,000 yards. That's big time stuff. The mechanics I really like, the pocket presence I really like. But the part that really gives me cause for pause is the interceptions, DP, the interceptions in the big time games. And I couldn't help myself but think, like, this can go really good, but also can it be a shell shock situation to where it goes bad to where he ends up playing average, right? Like, where that touchdown comes down to 25 to 27, right? Because much more difficult. And then the interceptions being 13. Like, he ends up throwing, it's a 27 touchdown and 13 interception season, which that's very difficult to, kind of explain and be like, okay, this is a first round quarterback. So I think optimistically, I feel good about him being a second round quarterback. That's everything transferring over. And then second round grade also came back to what we talked about in the first segment. It's like, hey, at least he doesn't have to learn a new offense, right? Because if it was a new offense on top of it, then yes, I would definitely be concerned about him taking that step up and play plus a new offense. But he's familiar with everybody over there because of the same coaching staff that coach that he was around at North Texas.
Yeah, I'm with you because I have a second round grade on him too. I was like, man, his tape is good. The numbers are good. Like I said, the interceptions. And again, guys, it's not that it's different when you see guys have an interception each of the 5 straight games. It's just one interception. But when you have 9 interceptions and 8 of them come in 3 games, like they come in just bunches and it just snowballs. It makes me wonder mentally how, like, your mental toughness to be able to put things behind you and move forward. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, again, those 2 interception games went to 3 interceptions last year. To those 2 interception games turned to 4 interception games in the Big 12. We don't want that to happen. That's why I say, hey, early in the season, run the football. Let's settle him in. Things like, I want college coaches to take some of take some things from the NFL coaches where you see it in the NFL. I'm like, I was watching, I was just studying, I think Christian McCaffrey the other day for our big project at BR, and Purdy threw an interception. They came back the very next drive. Kyle Shanahan called 6 straight runs, like 6 straight runs. He was like, nope, we got to settle you down, man. We got to settle you down. Let's get the offense moving again. Let's get everything back. Just low post. Let's get it back to low post. Let's get some momentum going, and then play action. Boom! You get a deep crossing route to Juwan Jennings. Brock Purdy, 15 yards, right? But if you had them go right back out there and throw the ball again, that might have been another pick, right? Like, you might just throw him back out there and try to make him kind of try and overcompensate for the interception he just threw. do the same thing. If you see Mestemaker throw a bad pick, hey, coach him up on the sideline. Very next drive, we're going 3 straight runs, right? And we're going to get positive yards. We're going to get a first down. All right, we can breathe a little bit. We got a first down. We got some momentum. I give him a second round, Keith. I think this guy could end up being a first round talent and everything. We'll see, because he also has at least another year or two of another 2 years, I think, of eligibility. I think he's like a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah, I think
he's draft eligible, so he can definitely go to the draft. But we'll see, because we know right now with the NIL and stuff like that, if your school got bread, if you got the money, these guys willing to stay, right? You know what I mean? Well, look at Dante Moore last year, projected 2nd overall pick, and say I'm going back to Oregon. So it's like, at this point, unless you're the number 1 guy, number 1 pick in the draft, guaranteed, everybody's up for a chance to go back to school if they got eligibility. So definitely looking forward to seeing him at Oklahoma State this year, Keith. Can he pull a Mendoza? Not be the 1st overall pick in the draft and all that, but can you go as the guy coming from a smaller school? Like, he's got better numbers than Mendoza had coming, I think,
out of Cal,
out of Cal and everything like that. But can you pull a Mendoza and go in that 1 year? Now you're going with your coaches. Mendoza had to go learn Kurt Signetti and that coaching staff and things like that. But you're leaving with your coaches, go to Oklahoma State, win the Big 12 championship game, get a playoff berth, and make some things shake in your first year. Make some things happen in Stillwater. Can he do that, Keith? I think if I haven't surveyed their team. If the team is good enough, I think he's the guy at the helm that can get it done.
Yeah, well, and that part, and Oklahoma State is one of those programs that every 3 to 4 years they have a really good season, right? And I think it was some crazy stat under Mike Gundy. It's something like they never had a losing season for those like 15 whatever years he was there. And then also, right, they've been in Big 12 runnings, like, just in the past 20 years. So it's about that time, right, with Oklahoma State. They, like I said, they rotate every few years to where they have a really good football program. So we'll see if they figured out the NIL era of roster building and of putting the right weapons, and then also seeing this thing gel and kind of mesh together.
They've recruited pretty well too. They had Ollie Gordon, DeJon Stribling, who was the first pick in the 2nd round. He was there before he transferred to Ole Miss. Like they've had some good players. The linebackers that the really fast, explosive linebackers they had a couple years ago.
Nick Martin, Colin Oliver came out of there, right? Like all draft guys, right? Guys that were drafted. So even when they had a bad season win and loss column, they still had talented players. They still had NFL players. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. Like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us, because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, guys, we are breaking down the guy that Indiana fans are talking about, or probably feel like he should be the next Mendoza for him coming through the transfer portal doors. Josh Hoover, former TCU quarterback turned Indiana quarterback. We're going to break down the pros, the concerns, and explain the grade on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.